think ultimately it's having that confidence as well that if you invest the next 90 days, 100 days, let's stay 100 days, um, you're going to be free of that role or that task within 100 days. And keep in mind, you're not doing the job anyways in the next 100 days. There someone's already doing it. You're mentoring them, you're training them, you're encouraging them, and then you're empowering them.
Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Kristy Yoder, host of the Master Delegator Podcast. The Master Delegator Podcast is for busy and overwhelmed entrepreneurs who want to learn how to become effective in the area of delegation and learn how to hire great virtual assistants to help them scale their business and have more time and freedom. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Alright, let's get started. Hey, in this episode, I had a chance to talk to Edwin Frondozo. He is a multi passionate technology entrepreneur, award winning podcaster, top advisor, and international keynote speaker. He is well known for finding the intersection where people, business, and innovation meet. Edwin launched the 100x Life platform for multi passionate leaders, entrepreneurs, and creators who are lifelong learners and love to do many things. The growing ecosystem consists of Cafe 100x Co-working, Podcast 100x Program, the 100x Club, and the 100x Life blog. He is the co founder of Slingshot Communications, a telecommunications service provider, network, and platform where he is focused on leadership, growth, and scaling. Edwin is also an award winning producer and host of the Business Leadership Podcast. He has produced 250 plus podcasts in various formats from one on one interviews, panel style discussions to solo slash narration styles with live streaming opportunities for guests on his show. Let's welcome Edwin. Hey, Edwin, thank you so much for showing up today. I know you are a busy guy, so I appreciate your time today. I just did your introduction, a few minutes ago, and you've had a lot of achievements already, and so I am super super curious to know about your story. So, why don't we start by you telling us your entrepreneurial journey? Like, how did you start with your career, and what were you doing before?
Yeah, well, Chrissy, thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be on the other side of a podcast
How does it
microphone.
feel?
It feels amazing. It feels great, and I'm always pumped because two podcasters together make a good conversation. Um,
Yep.
yeah, where did I start? My entrepreneur journey started a long time ago now. I mean, I've been, I've been on entrepreneur. I haven't been with a full-time job for 17 years, I guess. I would say when I left my last salary-paying job um, for 17 years, and it was in telecommunications, and it was just the industry that I came from, and did a lot of consulting, trying to figure things out from there, selling different things, and you know, ended up building out a platform of our own called Slingshot, which we bootstrapped. And then, and I'm sure we're going to get to this, but which led me to launching my own podcast almost six and a half years ago, the Business Leadership Podcast, as a way to, you and I talked about this, as to attract people to my platform and to my business. And that's sort of the 30 seconds um, summary of the last 17 years, but I'm sure we could dig deep into what serves you and your audience in terms of how
Yeah.
I could provide some of my insights.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I really want to talk about, delegation and outsourcing, how you can,
Mm-hmm.
outsource 100% of your business. Well, maybe not 100% because as the business owner, you still got to do some of the, you know, percentage in the 100%. But I want to know about, how did you know at first that you have this kind of entrepreneurial spirit in you? Do you feel like, it's in your blood? Who taught you how to become an entrepreneur? Or did you become an entrepreneur out of desperation of, leaving your telecommunication job? Did you not just want to be, inside a cubicle, from 9 to 5? Do you want to get freedom, out of that? So yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, my father, I think within my family lineage, we were very entrepreneurial thinking. Um, but it's also a struggle culturally wise. I know you and I are both Filipino, and being an entrepreneurial, there's a saying in Tagalog called being mayabang, and I think there's a lot of trauma around that. Right, this is actually, I mean, we could go deep in this cultural stuff, but there's a lot of cultural problems in the Filipino community when you start trying to better yourself. People start thinking that you're what does he think? He's trying to be mayabang. No, we're just trying to better ourselves and our family, right? I've healed those traumas, those early traumas already. But when it came to being an entrepreneur, seeing my father doing consulting and learning that and understanding who I am, someone who understands systems, I could pick things up real quickly. And a job actually was very boring to me. I couldn't just sit in a cubicle 9 to 5 and wait for the next thing and do things when I'm uber curious and I like learning and I like interacting and communicating with people. So it was just this restlessness that
Mm-hmm.
was underneath. And funny in terms of desperation, I was working for a company called Nortel Networks, which was one of the global telecom providers at the time, hardware providers, and they started laying people off. So I had the opportunity or misfortune, depending on what mindset you're looking at, for being
Yeah.
getting laid off at the time, right? Getting a full year's salary, and I was a young person at the time to do whatever I wanted. So we started my first business at that time, which failed, but that started my career. But that sort of gave me the taste of entrepreneurship, Kristy. But I was young. I was like 24, 25. You want to date women, you want to party with your friends. So I ended up getting a job at IBM. IBM is in the sales department. It was my first time in a sales organization, um, selling. So I learned a lot. I loved it. I loved being in front of deals. It was a call center. So every phone call I picked up was an opportunity to sell someone.
Yeah.
So I mean, looking back, I realized what a learning experience was that, but I didn't stay in IBM. I think it was about 1 year and I quit again. I was like, I can't be here. This is boring. Like, I need to start building, and
It's just you
I
you
never
knew
left. I
it
never
wasn't
looked
for
back.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a learning experience, and I don't regret it. I think, like I said, what I learned in that experience was that what a brand means. Like IBM. No, I never had to explain, Kristy, who IBM was. People just knew. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
IBM, I trust you." So these are some of the struggles as an early entrepreneur. Is like, "Who are you? What is this? I don't know. Are you going to be trustworthy? What if you disappear? Why am I going to give you money? What is your experience?" And it's overcoming these type of expertise or self-worth, right? Because you know how good you are as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is an interesting story. And I love what you said about, using your experience, in a corporate from a corporate world to what you're doing now. Because, selling stuff to people, it's not easy. You gotta have to have confidence. You need to learn the brand, the product that you are selling, and you need to know yourself as well, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. And so I am super curious about the number 100 times, because when I read your
Yeah.
bio, there's like 3 or 4 times in one paragraph that says 100 times or 100x whatever. So what's up
Hmm.
with that? Like
Yeah.
um why is it important to 100 times everything in your life or in your business?
Yeah. So for sure, and I'm gonna loop it back to delegation, but just the start of that story happened in 2020, right? When the world was in disarray, we're all confused, we're all pivoting. I had the opportunity to jump into different opportunities, but long story short, I also took the time to, the world was shut down, right? I really took the time to find out who I am and what this restlessness was. And I realized that I'm a multi-passion, I'm a polymath. I like to do many things, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship was something that I really liked. But at the same time, what was holding me back? What was the plateau? What was my limiting belief, right? I ended up realizing that success is not linear. Success is actually very, you make, Kristy, you and I make one big contract, and all of a sudden our trajectory is 90 degrees, right? We go up. Uh, it goes from a plateau to a next plateau, and then we're riding on that plateau, whether we go up or down. And I realized that to making a goal, I made an audacious goal that I was going to 100x my tech business in 100 days. I mean, there's a longer story to this, but success could happen overnight. I could have one conversation with Elon Musk, and all of a sudden, you like that could happen tomorrow, right? And that was not linear. That was just me being in flow and being in my purpose and my passion. So I made this audacious goal, and I recorded it and I shared it on September 22nd. And Kristy, it changed me almost instantly. I mean, it was scary. It was scary to even say 100 times. I'm sure if I tell you, Kristy, go on social media and say you're going to 100x your business, it's a very scary thing to do. But it's also freeing. And people support you. Synchronicities happen. And I started creating this lifestyle around 100 days. And that's where I am. I'm like in my 6th iteration of my 100-day sprints, my 100-day epics. And I talk about it. I'm building out a framework and a productivity framework, and I'm going to write a book around it as well. So it's something I'm passionate about. And when it comes to delegation, what I tell people is like, you want to grow and scale, how do you duplicate, how do you exit 100 roles in your business? Because you and I both know there's 100 different roles that we could delegate, or 100
Oh yeah.
different tasks that we could delegate.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you break down what you're doing today into 100 things and delegate it out, outsource it? And what would you do with that time once you delegate it, right? I'm sure you talk about this with all your customers and all the people you talk about is like, but the problem is that entrepreneurs, we still have this control. We don't trust. We think that we do it the best, but you
Exactly.
don't,
Yeah,
right?
but
So,
sadly, we don't. We just don't have our act 100% all together, you know? So I love that. Well, speaking of delegation, I want to dive right into our topic for today, which is,
mhm,
delegating or outsourcing your podcast production, to your team
mhm,
members. So since you are
yeah.
expert in podcast production, like tell me about your experience in delegating and how can we do that as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a great question. For context, my education is in computer systems, so not specifically computer programming or computer
Mm-hmm.
development, although I did a lot of that, but it was coming from the systems level. I'm a very
Mm-hmm.
systematic person in the way I think, very logical. So, in my practice when I launched my podcast, by my third interview, Kristy, if you can imagine, and I know you this is probably in your wheelhouse, I already had listed 53 steps to take my podcast to production, to release.
Oh my gosh,
And then
do you have a lead magnet for that? I feel
I
like
do have
that.
a I do have a lead magnet for that. I mean, we could
Oh,
share that on the
okay.
resources as well. And I actually just recently, and I mean, depending on when this airs, I actually just did a webinar on some of these as well, free webinars, so you could catch the recording as well. Happy
Nice.
to share that with you and your community. Um, and I also have like free Trello boards that people copy from this. But long story short, once you group all your once you have all your tasks listed, and this could work for podcast production, this could work for social media, this could work for order management, customer service, this could work for anything. Then you could group the skill sets, right? Okay, in podcast production, I need someone who knows audio engineering. Okay, maybe that person's not the right person for writing the copy of your landing pages, right? Then you'll start to recognize, oh, I don't need maybe I don't need the one person who could do everything all. And this is where a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs go. They want to hire the one person that's going to help them do it all. But it's impossible if you can't do it all. How do you're setting yourself up for failure,
Oh my gosh,
and you're
that's what I always said. That's what I always say, that don't if you can't do everything alone, why do you expect your virtual assistant to do everything for you? You're like, even
yeah,
robots can't do everything, so I
that's
love
right.
that.
Yeah, so just for perspective, I already had an audio engineer before I started because I didn't want to listen to myself and edit it. I had decided that from day one. But as I onboarded, because I had this Trello board, I onboarded, let's say, the graphic designer, and their whole job was just to create the album cover and do this. And then I hired someone who would listen to the podcast and create the show notes. Now, I mean, fast forward now, you have all this AI and all these tools that could do
Mm-hmm.
this as well, but you still need someone to look at it.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, I finally got to a point where I hired the last hire on my production team, which was the project manager or production manager, and they were managing these VAs.
That is
So,
awesome.
and then I was just showing up for the interviews, right? So, I mean, I scaled it down and I'm scaling it back up again, with those tools. But as I delegate, as our example as podcast production, it was literally the first time you do something, you're just figuring it out. The second time you do it, you should write down each step. I don't care how trivial it is. It could be write email to Kristy with subject. I wrote an email to Kristy with the subject line this, and this is what I wrote. Copy it, put it
Yeah,
down somewhere.
that's
And by the
that's
third
good.
time, ideally by the third time, you're able to teach it. You're able to hand it off. You're able to exit it. Okay, it may not happen the third time. It may happen the 10th time. It may happen the 30th time. But now the benefit is that you have an instruction list. You don't have to think about, okay, what did I do? What did I do the last time?
Mm.
Oh, you know what? I have to write this email and I got to do this and do that. No, you're actually have this checklist that you could follow. And now you could just, do a sprint and say, you know what? I'm going to produce 5 episodes this week and I'm just going to follow this and I'm not going to miss anything, right? And then the bonus one is I use Loom a lot. Record yourself do it. Maybe you do it on the third
Mm-hmm.
time. Oh, I'm going to do this, record it. Now your training is done. You don't even have to show sit that, hey, listen, I recorded this a couple of months ago. This is how I do it. If you have any questions, let me know. Like that's the master delegator role right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
use
I
Loom a
I
lot.
love that.
I use Loom a lot for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Me too. That's one of my favorite tool. Um
Yeah.
I love everything that you said, but in 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 a perfect world, like, entrepreneurs should do that, but a lot of them, they don't do that because not all entrepreneurs are into systems, and they don't think, very logical. And so when they do something, they don't even remember how they they did it. They're
because
like, okay, I'm
because
gonna do it.
they're very yeah they're very reactive, like,
Reactive,
oh,
yeah.
I got to get this done by tomorrow, I got to get this newsletter done by tomorrow, so I'm just going to get it done, and then I'm going to take it off my plate, and then next week comes again, like, oh, I got to do this again, how did I do this again?
Yeah,
They like to
exactly.
it's this circle.
And then when it
Yeah.
comes comes, for them to delegate that specific task to a different person, they don't know how to instruct that person, and they expect that person to do the task exactly how they would do it. And I was like, dude, like, that that will not work. I mean, you need to have processes in
Setting up
place.
for failure, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they end up getting mad at their team members because they don't get the job done right.
Hmm.
you know and and those business owners, they just didn't know that it's the responsibility to set their team members up for success. So going back to outsourcing your entire podcast production to a team, so you mentioned you need like an audio engineer, a graphic designer, somebody who can write your show notes, or you can also use like a tool like an AI to do that for you. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you have someone who can proofread the show notes for you, and you need to have a project manager or a production manager. Now, who among all those people post the your podcast episode on social media? Are we
Yeah, no,
missing a social media
I would
manager or
no,
something?
I would have had a social media manager in that team as
Okay.
well, who would create the copy and all that type of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And speaking of audio engineer, do they really have to be, you know, to have the title audio engineer, or can that be somebody who just know how to like put, different pieces of your your audio together and compress the audio, make sure that they kind of know how to EQ a little bit or whatever.
yeah, I mean, there's tools like Descript that is very teaching people how to be audio engineers. As long as you have the time and capacity to learn it and do like 2 or 3 episodes yourself, I think you could delegate that to a high school student, to a
Yeah.
nephew or a niece, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't like you have to be able to break down all the tasks, your processes into tasks, and the tasks have to be the lowest common denominator. Like you can't break it down anymore. Like this is it. This is the task. A grade 7 could do this task, right? And then you're gonna be like, oh, this is it. This is how McDonald's does it. This is how like put burger in here. And like if you eat
Don't
McDonald's, I
talk
mean I know.
about food. I'm gonna get hungry. It's about
I know.
lunchtime here now.
Yeah, it is. But I was just
Just kidding.
saying, like, it's all down to the like you can't question what that line item is. Oh, open email, do this, done. Follow instructions, right? So
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like what you said about you have to do it first. You can't instruct somebody how to do something if you haven't done it yourself. And that's why I also say that, you can't delegate something that you don't know. If you don't know how to do something, at least find somebody who knows how to delegate that to somebody else. And that
and you
should be
gotta
a
pay
person.
for that.
Yeah, and that should be a person that you trust, because if that person delegates something to a person, not in the right way, then you're going to lose a lot of money and you're going to get frustrated. But you just can't really delegate something that you don't know. So that's why I like what you said about, creating your own document, step-by-step instructions on how to get something done, and or record yourself using Loom. There's a lot of different tools that you can use out there in order to help you make your job easier, or to delegate easier.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was gonna mention, and you just said it yourself. Is like if you don't want to write down the systems or process, record yourself do it and talk it out loud. You might think it's insane, but that's what you're gonna do when you train someone.
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
Based on your own experience, what has been your struggle when it comes to delegating tasks to a team member, or what was your struggle, what were your struggles, or if you are still overcoming that struggle, what is that one thing?
Well, the biggest struggle is trust and let go, right? You gotta trust in the team that you build around yourself and empower them to make mistakes, right? At the end of
Ooh,
the
that is
day, you're
profound. Empower them to make
yeah,
mistakes.
yeah, like it's like having kids or whatnot, right? Like you could protect your kids and make sure everything is correct, but if they don't fail themselves, they're not gonna learn, right? So
Yeah.
you have to be okay that when you hire someone, and keep in mind you're hiring people, you're growing and scaling because you have other bigger jobs or ambitions or things to fill that no one else could fill. That you're hiring someone that will help but you have to empower them to fail because no one's gonna want to work for you if you're like a micromanager, do it my way, and you're foregoing that these people that you hire probably have genius input and feedback to help you grow, and they'll be proud to work with you and your team, right? So I think that's I've overcome that, but that was one of the biggest struggles. Is yeah, I hired a team, but now I don't trust what their output, and I got to look it all over. Like why if I'm looking over everything, then I might as well just do the work again, right? Like
Right.
it's a full
Exactly.
circle, right? So if you're thinking about hiring or growing and scaling because you are at capacity, or you see where you need to go first, is you have to do the deep work that it's going to take time. You know, if you get a job, the 90 days is real. The 90 days is not only for the employee to learn the job, keyword is learn the job. They're not coming in day one like, okay, I know your job. So you can't expect, give them the 90 days to learn and ensure that you're investing 90 days worth of time to ensure that they know the job. If you're
Yeah.
not doing it as the entrepreneur to train these people, you're setting yourself up for failure, disappointment. I'm gonna get a call from you. Oh, I've tried hiring, it just doesn't work. No, it's what did you do wrong? Like what can you do differently, right?
Yeah.
I've heard this over and over again. I'm in a lot of entrepreneur communities, right? Um, but I think it's the trust and the letting go, and that's the number one struggle. Not only for
Yeah,
me, I
and
think for
which
everyone.
yeah, I mean that is true for true for myself too. I had that struggle, in the past as well, and you know, which made me realize that we are the ones who are hindering ourselves, from growth. Not other people but us, because we can control ourselves. We can control your actions, what we do, what we say, and we should not hinder being a control freak, to be able to grow our business just because we don't trust other people. And if you want other people to trust you, you gotta learn how to trust other people as well. And I like what you said about empowering other people to make mistakes, because if you don't fail, you're not gonna learn. And there's no such thing as a perfect person as well. Everybody, every human being, even the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. I think this is the second time that we've mentioned his name. Even Elon Musk, he's not a perfect person. He makes mistakes. The most important thing there is that you learn from your mistakes, and you stay humble. You don't think that you're the best person in the world, because you're not. I'm not, and you're not. We are not. So um wow. And I love what you said about um wait, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it, but there's one thing you said that I really love. I'll get back to it later. But tell me about the key to your success.
I think it's not giving up first. Having belief in self, and just the resiliency, right? And continuing to go despite all the setbacks or failures, and not right. Like, what's the alternative? Get a job? Like this. That's the funny thing I always say, right? Like, um, but that's it, right? Like, it's a continual learning, and you always get better, and you always get better, and you got to remember that, right? Like, you will get early successes. This is the game of life. Entrepreneur, like, oh, I got this sale, I got this, and then it takes so long to get another sale.
Yeah.
But then it
Hey,
gets shortened. That time frame shortens and shortens, and you get better. And then how do I grow and scale? Who are the people I need to do? But I think I'm an uber curious person as a multi passionate, and I love learning, and I think that's really the recipe for me in terms of like continually to grow, because I think you will never know everything.
no, not really. Wow. Um okay, I remember what I liked about what you said earlier. You mentioned about, making sure that you give your team member a 90-day grace period to learn about your company, the task that you want them, or you want that person to do. And that is very crucial, like having, giving your team member a kind of like a probationary or a training period, helps them understand that, hey, I have room for growth here. It's okay to make mistakes. I don't have to be I don't have to know it all, on my first day at work. So I think, cuz just think about it. You would also appreciate your employer or your boss, your client, to give you that 90-day grace period, right? Who wouldn't want that? So if we want that for ourselves, then might as well give that as well to your team member, have them grow within that period of time. And also, don't forget to give feedback. If you feel like this person is not doing the right thing, give feedback, be transparent, be honest in a loving way, and give them time to improve as well. And start slow. You don't expect your, if you need a social media manager, you don't expect your social media manager to know everything in a week. So start slow. So you can maybe delegate the graphics for the first month, and then the second month you can delegate, your captions and all that kind of stuff. So start small and, go from there. And if you feel like that person is the right fit for the job that you want that person to do, then you can give more tasks to that person as as you build relationship and trust with that person.
Yeah, exactly. I think ultimately it's having that confidence as well that if you invest the next 90 days, 100 days, let's stay 100 days, um, you're going to be free of that role or that task within 100 days. And keep in mind, you're not doing the job anyways in the next 100 days. There someone's already doing it. You're mentoring them, you're training them, you're encouraging them, and then you're empowering them, right? I mean, we're all entrepreneurs for a reason, and we realize uh, whatever reason why we started to be an entrepreneur, but we realize that we are very good person developers, motivators. We could create jobs and livelihoods for people, and that's maybe where the biggest impact for us is as
Yeah.
givers, and not only creating our own dreams and aspirations within our lives and the people around us, but how do we like I said, how do we make impact to the people around us, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. And we are leaders, And I know you have a business leadership podcast. And so your leadership is also one of the things that you are passionate about. And just for me personally, I'm sure, other people may have, or even you may have a different perspective on this. But I feel like if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, you are a leader because you are gonna lead people under your shepherding, and so that may not be something that you will learn, quickly at first, becoming a great leader. But you're a leader, believe it or not, you got to learn how to become an effective leader. Because like what you mentioned earlier, empowering people, delegating, a responsibility to them, and then giving them feedback, that is a responsibility of a leader, right?
yeah, 100%.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
gotta lead. You gotta lead, like you gotta lead from the bottom and up. Like we said at the beginning, you gotta know how to do the role or be able to do the role. Because even if you do delegate, life happens. Team members get sick.
Life
Something
happens.
happens. They may find new opportunities. Um,
Yeah.
and you gotta be able to step in the role if you need to. Be a backup if you have to. So I think ultimately it's in your best interest to do these jobs, to document these jobs, because if your VA, if your person in your team is gone, or you're able to not allow, to provide them with vacation time and they're gone for a month, and you haven't done that role, and you're the backup, and you haven't done that role in a year, you're going to be thankful that you wrote that instructions down.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's a good way to put it. You know?
Right?
You know? You
Otherwise, like you're really out of touch, right? Which happens, right? But when the shit hits the fan, you're the business owner, you're the entrepreneur. You gotta pick it up. No one else is gonna pick it up, right?
yeah,
So
Exactly. Wow, this has been awesome. I love everything you shared. Oh my gosh, I feel like we can talk about this 24 hours a day. But
That's the live show. We're coming together soon.
wait
Ask
for it.
you looking to delegate. Talk to Kristy and Edwin.
Hey,
We'll
it's just so good to hear other people, you know, share about what's in my brain because I'm passionate about delegating, not because I have a virtual assistant agency, not because I want to promote my agency, but because I know it works. Regardless if I am an entrepreneur or not, I will delegate. As a matter of fact, I just bought like a robot vacuum to vacuum my house because I don't have time to vacuum. Like it takes me roughly 2 hours to vacuum and mop my floor because we have like wood flooring, and I have a puppy and he sheds a lot. And I'm like, I told my husband, it's the weekend. I should be resting and doing fun stuff, cleaning, vacuuming, mopping. It's not fun, so I gotta get a robot vacuum. I did not get iRobot, but it's something similar to that brand, but it it saves me a lot of freaking time. So again, like regardless if I own a business or not, delegation is still a priority for me because I want to do the things that I want and I want to spend time with my loved ones, with my family and with my dog. That's just, priorities. You got to know your priorities. So like I said, it's kind of it's just so reassuring and refreshing to hear someone, share about delegation, how I would also share it, to other people so that they know, hey, Chrissy's just not the one talking about delegation. There are other people, business owners, successful entrepreneurs who believe in delegation as well. So there you have it, folks. It's not just me. Other people who delegate too.
well, everyone desires it, right? So it's
Yeah,
it's it's a matter of trusting and letting go.
that's true. Yeah. Where can people find you online? And do you have any kind of like promotions, any freebies that you want to share?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, first off, you could find me at Edwin100x at most social medias. I'm personally active in the Instagram, I guess.
Which
TikTok.
I'm
I mean,
following you right now.
TikTok. I'm starting to do a little more. They seem to be more better on the organic, and it's fun too. Um, Eventually, I gotta outsource that, but I enjoy the conversation sometimes and the creations on that side. For those who are looking to do like a podcast, I do have a podcast100x.com platform. You could sign up to launch your podcast in 100 days, and I talk about different things there. Um, yeah, I think that's my resource. And of course, check out my podcast, the Business Leadership Podcast. It's thebusinessleadership.com. Weekly conversations around leadership, around um, power. Right now, I'm very keen in conversations around flow and productivity,
Mm-hmm.
and the science around that. So I'm getting pretty cool guests around that.
Nice.
But yeah, check that out. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to chat. But yeah, that's it. I mean, delegation. This is the key. This is the key to growth and scale.
That is so true. I'm with you there, man. But hey, this is so fun. Oh my gosh, like you just don't know how happy my heart is right now. But thank you so much for your time, Edwin.
Kristy, thank you so much. This has been a blast, and hopefully we could do it again.
Yep, for sure.